Super.
Hey Kyle,
Hey, how you doing, Adam?
pretty well, pretty well.
I'm gonna mute myself through most of this and just unmute myself to ask questions,
Okay,
just so the focus stays on you most of the time
okay,
instead of it doing the automatic thing with Hangouts, flipping back and forth. And if there's any ambient noise,
okay.
um, it'll flip back and forth. So we've got a few minutes.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's okay.
How's the day going?
The day's going really well. It's been a pretty good session. They've had a few sessions. I actually did a session in this room from 9:45 to 10:45, and there's a few people. Uh,
Uh,
they have some good vendors. There's probably about 100 people total in all of the sessions.
cool.
Um, and then after this session, they're going to do an ed camp for one session.
Oh, right, nice, nice.
So that's kind of what everybody's doing now. So it's kind of lunch and coordinate all the ed camp offerings, and then who's going to do what.
Cool, cool.
So tell me, you're a principal in Antioch?
Martinez.
Martinez, okay.
So I actually met you, my first kind of Google foray, you and Digital Roberto at an Axe event years ago, man, years ago. Yeah, and I know Liz through San Ramon. We were vice principals at the same time for about a year until she took off. So,
Right.
yeah, my third year as a principal here. We're one-to-one, first through fifth, which is pretty cool. And Google Apps. Every one of my teachers is on Twitter, and yeah, I spend about 30 minutes of my day in my office. I'm out and about, and I run my school from this thing. So it's
That's
just
great.
yeah, it's just a fun thing. So and I'm just trying to enable. There it is. So is my tagline up? Can you see my? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
going to see, the one thing I didn't do is I'm going to see if I can hardwire, because I'm on the wireless right now, and I don't want wireless to be the cause of us blanking out. So I'm going to hardwire it in.
how was Fall Q?
Fall Q was pretty good. Wireless issues on the first day, which made it not great for a lot of people. To be what happens,
Sure.
but I think we've got some of that worked out.
Good.
The second day was much better.
Good. 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 Good.
Yeah, so I remember doing one of those sessions over at the AXA office in Burlingame, right?
That's right. Yeah, it was like a Google Apps for admins, and then we were at Google in the morning, I think, and then the AXA offices. So that was like, gosh, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, which feels like how much is
Forever.
how much has everything changed in 5 years? I mean,
Right.
it's like a new way of doing things, you know. So yeah, it's good. It's good. So. Yeah, all's good. Just having fun being a principal and all the craziness that goes on with that, and looking at my next deal. So that's it. Yeah, it's all good.
So with your teachers being on Twitter, do you automatically retweet them?
Yep. Yeah. So every time they tweet, I retweet them. So um, I average about 25 to 30 tweets a day, probably. You know, like 3/4 of those are mine as the principal, and then another quarter are theirs that I'm retweeting. So um, it's just been a really great way to share with the community. I feel it's open house all year long, every day.
Mm-hmm.
But to deepen it, like they're connecting with each other. I mean, you know, you've been in the classroom. It's really not a collaborative profession most of the time. You're
Mm-hmm.
just with yourself in your classroom. But what Twitter does, it opens up the doors and it allows people in their grade level to collaborate in a sense and share throughout the day, but then also across the grade levels and then across our district, across the state. I've got principal friends, obviously, across the state and the country that we've set up our teachers with each other, and you know, and they talk that way. And especially with new initiatives, we've rolled out Writers Workshop, you know, from Teachers College, and just that's been a really great way to grow the practice in the classrooms through Twitter by seeing anchor charts and different practices that are happening across the country. It's just, otherwise, how else do you get a professional of sorts in your classroom, or even just a sneak peek? I mean, obviously, I don't need to preach the power of Twitter to you, but for classroom teachers, it's amazing. But having your whole staff on is the next step. I just wrote a blog post on EdWeek through Peter DeWitt's blog, what it's like to have your whole school on Twitter. Yeah, it got a lot of movement, which was fun. So.
And what kind of interaction do you have with parents and families now via Twitter?
Oh, well, we have my school's 520 kids. We have over 500 followers. Parents know what's going on. My discipline is down. I basically have zero discipline. My negative parent interactions are, I mean, I don't have them, and I think that really contributes to people feel a part of the community because they know what's going on in the classroom. They know what's going on at school. You know, you've had those principals or those directors, like I never see them. What do they do all day? Well, yeah. When they see me being visible, but also me sharing, they feel like, oh, they care, they know what's going on. And people that don't tweet or don't share, I'm sure they care, but they're not sharing it with the world and with their community. So it's really blown the door. I mean, I have my superintendent tweeting. Every one of our schools is now on Twitter, and we're collaborating that way too. It's like we're pushing the envelope up to the middle school because that principal and those teachers are seeing what we're doing, and they're like, whoa. And also the parents see it, so they're pushing the high school and the middle school, like, hey, look what they're doing at the elementary school. Yeah, it's powerful. It's awesome, definitely. So.
And so you get those parents, and so do you get any negative feedback sometimes from parents saying, well, Mr. Welcome's always on his phone?
Yeah, you know, I've had parents complaining about teachers. They're on their phone. I said, yeah, it's a tool, and they're using it. I encourage them to be that, so I just flip it right back to them. I mean, every one of my teachers has their phones out because they use it through Evernote. They're using it through Class Dojo. All of our teachers are using Remind. They're tweeting. They're doing podcasts. I mean, they use their phone. I use my phone for more of that stuff than I do actually to make phone calls, right? I mean, you know, like, and even like, I mean, Voxer is my new phone number. Like, I don't need to have your phone number, Kyle. I can just Vox you, right? And leave you a message, you know. And I've actually given my Voxer ID to all my parents, and I've had a few parents leave me messages. Hey, you want to get a hold of me through the day? Don't call the office. I'm not in the office. I'm on campus. And I can listen to the message, and I can call back or respond back with a picture or a voicemail. I mean, it's super, super powerful. So I had a call with Voxer last week because they're out of the city and hoping to make some different changes in their platform. So yeah, I just did a parent survey too, kind of like do you feel connected to the school? Because it's not just about Twitter; it's about feeling connected to the community, and the responses were really, really strong. So I feel like we're doing the right thing, you know, and what works for here. So so are people going to just hop on?
Well, they can. I'm going to invite them into the Hangout if they want to come in. But I actually have it projected as well right now.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to be able to see you kind of projected, and they'll be able to ask some things. We only have a couple of us now, so I don't know if they've finished doing the EdCamp setup yet.
Okay.
So I know that was part of what they were scheduled to do at the tail end of lunch, and then as soon as lunch was over, then they were going to kind of do that, go to the afternoon sessions.
Sure.
And then they posted. There's a big crowd around it. Okay. All right. So there's a big crowd around. I just got the word. There's a big crowd around the EdCamp sessions right now.
Okay.
So people are, you know, kind of figuring out what they're going to do at 2 o'clock.
Yeah. No worries.
All right. So it may take a couple of minutes. I'm going to probably give it 3 or 4 more minutes. But then if other people come in, you know, I'll let you know. They'll just jump in.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Are you also a Google Apps for Ed school too?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so, do your teachers, and so I'm starting to look at this. If I was an administrator, one of the things that I would start to encourage my teachers to do would be, as those parents, I want to really engage those parents as learning partners or as teaching partners for their kids,
Mm-hmm.
and doing things like, taking pictures of what their kids are doing in class and be able to send those either through a DM or through, an email to those parents saying, this is what Johnny did today, this is what Susie did today. Maybe you want to have a conversation about this,
Sure.
or you know, maybe this is something that we can talk about as a group, and we can maybe put the focus on the work instead of, like, parents like to focus in on, well, Miss so and so doesn't like my student,
Mm-hmm.
and put the focus back on work, and making sure the student has the support to complete the tasks that they're asked to do instead of personalities.
Sure.
Do you see that you're able to facilitate that a little bit more through a digital format?
Sure. So we're Google Apps. Obviously, we do nothing with Word, thankfully. All of our 3rd through 5th grade students log into their accounts every day. Everything is done through that. My Google Drive is chock full of folders because all of our students share their folders with me too. And something that's been really great, Kyle, is I'll be in the parking lot and I'll see your mom. Like, oh, Mrs. Broomba, I just read this great narrative writing by Kyle, and I'll pull it up on my phone, and if I'm able to have a conversation with your parent, unbeknownst to you, and your information is on my mobile device, and I know about it, and I've even commented on it. I mean, the connection that develops is so amazing. So something that we've done with Google, not with Google, but with Remind, is all of our teachers are using Remind.
Mm-hmm.
So we're using Remind obviously for reminders, but we're also using it to engage in Common Core. So on a more general level, not like specifically for students, what teachers are doing is they'll send a question home, and I do this also because I have a class with the whole community. Ask your child what book they're reading, who their favorite character is, and 3 characteristics that they really like about that character, which is a great way to start a conversation rather than, hey, Kyle, what'd you do at school today? Nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Teachers are taking pictures of anchor charts about a writing assignment or maybe a number talk in math, and they're sending that home as a remind message. So at dinner, a parent can say, oh, hey, tell me 13 ways to put together these 2 different numbers because I know you did that in school today. So what that does, obviously, it starts a conversation. It makes the parent feel more connected to the classroom. We're really working on professional development and communication with parents about Common Core, because especially in math, it looks different. Division and multiplication can look a lot different than it did when we were in school. What does it look like now? Parents can't support their children as best as they probably want to or that they used to. So we're really using those as ways to engage parents. We have quite a few parents that are Google Apps kind of infused. I've got my PTA to go Google Apps, so all of our agendas and meetings and everything's in a folder and shared with everybody, so you don't need to obviously say who has that document. Where is it? I don't have the newest version, so we definitely tried to go that way. And then the parent piece, we've done Twitter 101, Google Apps 101 at PTA meetings, and I'll do little tutorial sessions for parents just to get them on the same page so they're seeing the language. I've had parents ask me, hey, I didn't see very many tweets from you today. Were you in meetings all morning? I'm like, yeah. Actually, I had a 3-hour meeting. So they notice when we're not sharing, which is really powerful that the people are paying attention. Not all of our parents are on Twitter, Kyle, but I've had parents tell me that at work they'll have 2 screens up, their work screen and then the John Sweat homepage, because we embed all of our tweets on the homepage, so you can just see the daily run. It's like a yearbook. It's back to school night, open house all year long, right? Why should we wait for one or 2 days all year to celebrate the awesome? We do it all the time. So.
Yeah, and do you share student work from time to time via Twitter?
Sure, definitely. Names or not, it just depends. But if students have done math or a presentation, I've been using Cinematic lately. It's just like a little 15-second video app. I mean, you can do Vine, or even just tweet out a YouTube clip. I've been an administrator for 5 years and tweeting as a vice principal and also now as a principal, and I've not had one parent complain or concerned. You know, I mean, we're very definitely cognizant of privacy and student faces. You know, we definitely make sure that we have you know, students' interests in mind, privacy issues wise. Parents say they love it. Absolutely, overwhelmingly, they feel connected to the school. It's not about Twitter. It's not about the tool. It's about feeling connected to where your children go to school, and so you can support them, and that they know that their child wants to come to school. You know, that's what it is for us. Because in 10 years, it'll be something different. Twitter, it may not be Twitter, right? It'll be in 3 years. You know, who knows, right? So
it'd be something else.
That's right. It's
it
about
probably
that.
Will be something else.
It will be. It will be something else. So it's about that connection, which is really powerful. So
okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and start because we're a couple minutes in, and people
Sure.
will flow in as they come along. So, and I'll probably go in and cut off some of the front part that we did once it gets published out on the Hangout on Air.
Sure.
So up a little bit, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, Adam, and kind of what you do and how you kind of started on the process of using Twitter or other types of social media. I mean, Remind 101 and those other things are types of social media, but using Twitter as an administrator and how it allows you to do a lot of the tasks that you really feel like you need to do in communicating with your community. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and start from there.
Sure. My name is Adam Welcome. I'm an elementary school principal in Martinez, which is about an hour and a half away from where you all are right now. And this is my 5th year as a school administrator. I started as a assistant principal of a really, really large elementary school in San Ramon. And we had 1,200 students, K-5. It was huge. And something that we struggled with was really connecting our classrooms. And we were really trying to find a way to bring everybody together. And we went to Twitter, and we started tweeting what was going on in classrooms. And it was a virtual way to bring classrooms together, so teachers in kindergarten who never ever saw a 5th grade teacher except for a monthly staff meeting could know what was going on in their classroom, and parents as well too. And that brought me to where I currently am at John Swett Elementary, and it's our 3rd year here, and I'm very excited to say that all of our teachers are on Twitter and actively tweeting. And as Kyle said, Twitter is but one tool that we use to connect our classrooms. But parents feel more connected to the school. Teachers feel connected to each other. It's no longer a solitary profession, I feel. Grade levels know what's going on with each other, and as do other teachers across the campus, because teachers are constantly checking their feed throughout the day. You know, a funny story, Kyle, last year our superintendent came to visit, and we were walking around, and I said, oh, let's go over here because this teacher is doing this, and we went and saw what was going on, and then we left the classroom, and I look at my phone. I said, oh, let's go over here because so-and-so is doing this. And she says, how do you know what's going on in the classrooms? I said, no, I'm just checking our Twitter feed because they're sharing what's going on. So another really important app that we started using is Remind, formerly Remind 101. I went to Remind because I really wanted a seamless, easy, mobile way to communicate with our families. We have almost 400 subscribers, which I know is about 95+% of our parents that subscribe to the class, and the feedback that we've had has been outstanding. Also, every one of our teachers is using Remind, and I, as the principal, subscribe to all of their classes. So that, again, just gives me a deeper connection to their classroom, knowing what they're sharing and communicating with their families. And this year especially, we've really tried to open up our minds about Remind and how we're using it. It's not just for, don't forget, Friday early dismissal. We're really, how can we communicate with families to engage in conversations about Common Core? What does that look like? So an example will be, I'll send a message home. Hey, turn to your child and ask them what book they're reading, who their favorite character is, and three characteristics about them. Teachers are taking pictures of anchor charts and sending them home as attachments in their Remind class. They're taking pictures of number talks, just different ways to interact with parents. Last year, it really clicked because I'm known for going to the kindergarten yard and riding on the tricycles. And while I'm riding one of the tricycles, Kyle, I forgot that I had to send a message. As I'm riding, I pull my phone out of my pocket and I send a message, and every single one of my parents gets that message. And that's when it really clicked. This service works. I'm mobile. I'm not in my office. I don't need to be in my office. And that is why I feel that running your school from your mobile device, an iPhone is my choice. Obviously, you could have an Android, is number one. And it's not about the tools, Remind, Twitter. I'll talk about a few others, obviously, that I use. It's not about that. I use those so I can be visible in classrooms to support teachers and students. And those are the real reasons. I am in every classroom at least every other day. So I have 26 teachers. I'm a moderately sized school, and I can't support teachers and students if I don't know what's going on. Your classrooms are the pulse of your school. You can't know where you want to go unless you know where you are, and that changes on a daily and a weekly basis. Knowing where students are and where they're working at, sharing what's going on in the classroom. Walking into a classroom and knowing exactly what they're working on and how to support them is a really powerful place to be as an administrator. And I remember, Kyle, when I first met you about 5 years ago, you were explaining something. I forget what it was, but you said this is not for the faint of heart. And this definitely did not happen overnight. And Kyle and I look like twins right now because we're both bald and we're both wearing blue polo shirts. But you need to start somewhere, and start with one device, start with one application, and think about how it can get you out of your office. There's been a lot of talk in the Twitter sphere lately about no office days, and I actually wrote a blog post for the EdWeek blog, Peter DeWitt's blog, who's a friend of mine, with 3 other administrators, about no office day. And I kind of laughed because every day is no office day for me. I never see my office manager. She's kind of up here alone, and that's exactly how it should be, I feel, because she runs the front and I work on the school, and that's how we push the envelope. So to answer some other questions, we're 1-to-1 in 1st through 5th grade, iPads in 1st and 2nd, Chromebooks in 3rd through 5th. We're 2-to-1 with iPads in kindergarten. And again, schools throw those numbers around with how many devices they have, but it's what you're doing with those devices, and it's the connection to the parent community that is really powerful. Another app that really has helped us and changed us to be mobile is Square, and we use Square as a school. I have Square on my phone, and we don't like to take checks, and parents come in and they have to make a payment or they want to donate money. I can just pull out one of the Square registers in my drawer, plug it into my phone. It's connected to our PTA account, and we can accept money. And that may seem like a small application, but it really has really helped us not only be mobile, but also just have that mindset of being on the cutting edge and not doing business as normal or how we've always used to do it. Google Drive is a huge go-to app for me on my phone, obviously. There's nothing on my computers. I have 2 MacBook Airs, an iPad, and an iPhone. If I lost all those devices, I could take yours and log in as me and can still access everything that I need. So many of our students, all of our 3rd through 5th graders are Google Apps, have Google Apps accounts, and they share all their folders with me, and I try my best to comment on every single one of their writing assignments, which is really powerful because it lets them know that I care, that we as a school care what they're working on. But then I can also, if I'm talking to a parent, I can talk about the writing assignment that's in my Google Drive that their child shared with me, which is really, really, really powerful. Google Hangouts, of course, obviously we're on one right now, and I'm on my MacBook Air, but most of them happen on my phone. I can be sitting on the playground or on a bench outside, or I can be anywhere and stay connected. We're really trying to push having Hangouts as some types of meetings in my district this year. You know, why should I get in my car and drive 15 minutes for a half an hour meeting? You know, if I only spoke twice, isn't it more productive and better if we're all, we can stay in our office, or if we're at home or wherever that may be, and stay connected that way. It's also a great way, obviously, to connect your classrooms. We've done that a lot with different schools. Also, authors can hop in on a Google Hangout, which is really, really, really a fun way to connect classrooms. Audio boom, podcasting is a really great way to connect your classrooms. Voice is really powerful, and I went to formerly Audio Boo, now Audio Boom. They changed their name after what's Apple's version of podcasting? It's GarageBand. So I learned about GarageBand. I said, great. First of all, it was too complicated. Secondly, what do you do with it? It's sitting on my computer. So we needed to find a mobile way to record podcasting. So my first year as principal, I would do a This Week with Mr. Welcome. And I would record messages, and then we had a talent show, and there was an MC, a third grader named Sully, and he was like Bon Jovi, just tons of energy. So then we did a This Week with Sully, and I'd record it from my phone. I just go to the Audio Boom website, grab a widget, and I embed the player in our homepage, so they automatically load to our homepage, right? We also tweet them out. I also email them out. And then I'm kind of an entrepreneur at heart. I said, I can sell these. So at auction every year, we sell This Week With. And you can pay $100, your parents can, to record a message, a weekly message with the principal. And then it's not just recording your voice. There's Common Core involved. You have to write your message. We have to practice it. We have to record it. We work on intonation in your voice and expression. And then finally, when we're happy with the product, we publish it. On a weekly basis, we'll get over 1,000 plays for each podcast. And what that's done is it's modeled for our teachers using voice. Our kindergarten teachers are doing podcasts with their kindergartners. They'll do a whole class mashup. Well, they'll record 15 seconds of each kid saying something. Maybe it's a poetry slam, and then they'll put that all into one podcast and publish that for parents. So it's another great way to connect the classrooms to the parent community. And I'll often do that too. I'll walk on our music class or even a classroom and start recording a podcast and then sharing it with our community. Did you have a question? I saw you about to say something, Kyle.
Yeah, I was actually going to, one of the questions I was going to ask, especially with audio and podcasting, do your teachers, especially maybe in the younger grades, do they use podcasting or Audio Boo as a formative of assessment, meaning that they're working with reading with kids and then they'll record kids, let's say they'll do it once in September and another time in November and another time in January, another time in March, so that they can now show growth over time and kind of build up a portfolio of what the student has done through the course of the school year that they can now share with the parents?
You're exactly right. We have a 5th grade teacher that, actually we have conferences this week. She'll pull up their Audio Boo file and you can see a running record, or even in the younger grades. We've also done that with Evernote also, where obviously 1st grade uses Evernote a lot because you can just create a folder, a file for each student. So then you can dump all their pictures of their work, audio files. Teachers can take notes, and then teachers will just pull up their Evernote file for conference. They'll look at the smartboard or their laptop, and that'll lead the conference. So they can listen to their reading in August, in each month, and see the progression. It's a really great thing. We have SST meetings, care team meetings. I know you're familiar with that language with parents. I also tell them that too. Hey, record your child reading. And if you have an iPhone, you could do it as a voice memo, but you can also do it as an audio boom. which is great because then you can email it to your grandmother in New York. Like, how else can you connect them to their learning? We've done that with kids, and then grandparents are commenting on the podcast, because you can enable comments also, which again brings up bringing people into the conversation, making our world smaller, giving students voice and confidence. We really haven't dabbled too much in video. Audio is just, it's a safe way for elementary school students. I know principals that do a lot of video. Audio is quick, it's dirty, it's easy, it's free. You can do it from your phone. Yes, video is very powerful as well too. We just really use a lot of behind. I'm sorry, about, and then I needed to talk to her about, and we just created a shared folder in Evernote. So then it's like a running, hey, Joanne's taking care of this, Adam's taking care of this. I can be sitting in a second grade classroom on the floor reading with a student. I don't need to go to my office for that post-it note. Completely mobile. My superintendent always says, you gotta decorate in here a little bit. I'm like, I'm never in here. I'm always on campus. That's where I really feel, Kyle, that's where you feel the pulse of your school. Going on. You can watch video all day long, and they're in the locker room, strategize and theorize plays and what could happen and what should happen. But you have to be with the people to know. A principal is a lead learner, instructional leader, call it whatever you want. But unless you see those teachers on a daily basis and not just those 2 or 3 times a year during evaluations, how can you best support them? I just don't feel that you can unless you're visible.
Right. So that's one of the questions I kind of wanted to follow up on, is the visibility piece. How do you feel that you being so mobile and being in teachers' classrooms so many times during the school year, because I know when I was teaching and probably when you were teaching, you would see an administrator in your classroom twice a year, right? So when you'd be evaluated, and then once you received tenure, you maybe saw someone in your room once every other year. Yeah. And so that principal really didn't, or that administrator didn't have a feel of how you were as a teacher, so that if they had an inquiry from a parent, they would answer basically in just very generic terms based upon the last time they were in your classroom. So has your visibility in those classrooms, has it kind of demystified the evaluation process for your teachers so that they feel it's much more of a collaborative, supportive environment versus, well, he's just in here to evaluate me, and so I have to put on the good dog and pony show?
That's funny. When I was a teacher, my colleagues, they'd come to school all dressed up, and I say, why are you all fancy today? Oh, I'm being evaluated, right? And for me, I'm the principal. I get that, but first and foremost, I'm part of the team, and I really do feel that I'm just part of the team. And I may have a title after my name, but demystifying is a great way to describe it, Kyle. You can tell when you walk into a class, you're visiting a school and the principal's with you, and the kids go, that principal's never in classrooms. I mean, I just roll in and I don't even talk to the teacher. I just come in and talk to the kids, and if I have to check in with a few students or leave some notes, or I'm always taking pictures, obviously, and tweeting what I'm seeing, there is no stigma. I honestly feel that. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to build culture first. If you see the banner behind me, we have a motto here that's become our de facto hashtag. It's Team Kid, and my banner says follow Team Kid, and then our at JSE Roadrunners, which is our Twitter handle. And our motto of Team Kid is every decision that we make is good for kids, and it better be good for kids. And our superintendent says Team Kid. I make custom T-shirts. I have a stencil. You bring a T-shirt by, I'll spray paint the T-shirt, and it says JSE, John Sweat Elementary, Team Kid. And what that has done for our school is built a community, and teachers do things that I haven't seen other teachers do for their colleagues at other schools, because we are all I really feel on the same page and on the same team. And the evaluation process, yes, it's a very important process, you know, and we take it very seriously. But it is also, you know, we have conversations like, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, I just saw a tweet this morning. Hey, I'll retweet it to you. Or I've had parents or teachers say, oh, I saw that on Twitter. Or I saw this on Twitter. And when they start talking that language, and that's a collaborative professional development language of them wanting to continuously learn and raise the bar, you know that you have it. You know that you have a community of people that is for Team Kid and that wants to continually be better. Something that we're doing right now is we launched Writers Workshop last year out of Teachers College in New York, which is no small task. K-5, we are on year 2 of implementation of Writers Workshop. And I have teachers tweeting with Teachers College, tweeting with their senior staff and other teachers across the country that are working with that as well. We have a consultant that we work with that they're in contact with, and she tweets to them. And obviously, the great thing about it is email is so. There's a great New York Times article, "The Death of Email," a few months ago, because an email obviously is just between you and I, but if I tweet you an article.
I think he's probably. Oh, there you are.
And then, so you know, being in classrooms is definitely my most favorite thing to do. Something else that we do is I buy a picture book and I read to every classroom once a month, and I schedule with teachers, and I come in and read, and you know, it allows me FaceTime with kids, reading a story and connecting with them on a different level. Which is really, really fun. An app that I use too sometimes with Twitter is a beautiful mess. It's ABM is their tagline, and it's just a really great one. Fonto is another one. If I do take a picture of some kids, I can write some text and just put it over their faces. So that's just an easy way to kind of block their faces out, but add some text to the picture, just for their safety, but also to give the tweet some context. I don't use it that much, but if I do need to, it's definitely on my phone. So
yeah, I kind of do personally when I'm doing things where I'm taking pictures in classroom. I use Sketch to kind of do the same thing with that kind of blur tool in Sketch. That if I want to take a picture of what's going on in that classroom, then I'm going to use the blur tool to obscure some kids' faces, so that I can show what the actual learning process is going on in the classroom, but at the same time have that confidentiality.
Sure.
I wanted to kind of get, so as teachers have kind of hopped on board, it sounds like they've kind of gone outside of just your building, and in a lot of cases outside of your district, that they've kind of started. Do you see teachers building their own PLN outside of, you know, your district, and kind of getting engaged in a conversation that's more, you know, even regional or nationally, where they're looking at different types of activities that are going on and bringing those into your school? Do you see a lot of newer things coming into your school that are maybe just kind of out on the Twitter sphere that you wouldn't see in a lot of other schools because they wouldn't have that exposure?
Oh, you bet. So, I mean, I've taken a bunch of my staff to ed camps where they've had the ability to connect with other people, and Genius Hour is something that has taken off on my campus like wildfire. And obviously, if you know the history of Genius Hour, it kind of came from Google and their 20% time. You know, one day a week you can do what you want, and I'm sure Google Hangouts was a 20% project, right? And I have so many testimonials, unprovoked testimonials from parents saying, my child cannot wait to come to school to present their Genius Hour project. We have kids writing iOS apps. They've downloaded the iOS app developer. We have kids writing code, developing their own website. I mean, the list is long, and they're not. We had kids that brought a guitar and wrote their own song and then recorded it. And is that directly related to the curriculum? You bet. Is that Common Core? You bet. They are collaborating. They are communicating. They are making mistakes. They are trying again. We had a teacher from Los Osos down in San Luis Obispo who was just at Fall Q, took a picture yesterday in front of my school and tweeted it to myself and one of my other teachers and said, hey, I was at Fall Q. I realized that John Sweat's school was around here, so I wanted to come by and just take a picture. And one of my third grade teachers is collaborating with him on Twitter, and she's one-to-one, and so is he. So through Kid Blog, they're writing blog posts back and forth to each other, because pen pals are great, but for the most part, I mean, it costs money and it takes time to put letters in the mail. Why not write a blog post and then send the link to another teacher, wherever that may be? And Kid Blog is great. It's free. You can do it on an iPad. You don't need a laptop. Parents comment. I comment on kids' blog posts. So yes, when I came to my school, we started something called Wired Wednesday. And what Wired Wednesday was once a month. It was free. It was voluntary professional development provided by me. Hey, come this Wednesday to this room. I'm going to talk about Evernote. And it was 15 minutes. That was it. After 15 minutes, I was done. And teachers were like, whoa, okay, it really was just 15 minutes. And then the next month, I did Twitter. And then I had a teacher come to me and say, hey, Adam, can I present a Wired Wednesday? And when that happened, I knew I had them, right? Because then they took it. Kyle, we haven't done a Wired Wednesday in about a year and a half, because they just do Wired every day, right? I mean, they're just doing it and learning. And if somebody has something they want to share, they just do it via Twitter, or at a staff meeting, we'll sometimes do kind of some smackdowns, kind of like at the end of an ed camp, you'll do like a tech smackdown. Hey, I got a 2-minute smackdown. Do it. Go. Every one of our teachers has a MacBook Air. That was a big priority of mine. It took about a year and a half to get there. And at our staff meeting, there's like 26, Apple's just aglow, and they're just working and collaborating. And oh my gosh, I just saw this article on Edutopia, or hey, I just saw this tweet from Aaron Klein, or whatever, and they're sharing, and everyone is interested, and just wanting to, like I said, raise the bar and be better. It's that relentless push to really provide the best environment for our kids. Another app that I've kind of come recently to is Voxer, and obviously I've started using Voxer with colleagues. I started in my district, and then started a book club on Voxer that turned into an article club, because it's hard to read a book when you're busy. And then actually got my PE teacher and the other PE teachers in the district on Voxer. We have a bunch of different Voxer groups, but what I've done too as a principal is Kurt Reese, who's a principal in Wisconsin who I'm connected with, said he gives his cell phone number out to his entire community. I'm not there yet, but what I've done is I've given my Voxer username to all of my parents, and I posted it on my page on our website. I tweet it out about once a week, and I've had parents send me a Vox message. Like, really, Kyle, I don't have your cell phone number. I don't need it. I could just leave you a message on Voxer, right? Because I can find you on Voxer. And then, oh, it's Adam, welcome. Hey, what's up, right? And parents have contacted me. They have a question. And, I mean, I want parents to do that, because I want them to know what's going on. I want them to be informed so they can best support our school, but also their child, most importantly.
Okay, so now, so Voxer and some of these other ways, do you feel like parents have abused that privilege of having such immediate access to you?
No, I think it's done the reverse. I think that they know so much, they don't need to access me. And if they really do need to access me, I want them to. I don't work crazy hours at school, because I don't need to be at school. Right? I can be at home, and if it's 8 o'clock at night and I get a message, a tweet, or a Vox, I have parents tweet me more than anything. I want to get back to them, and it's okay, because our world is 24/7. I really feel. Yesterday, the whole day, I turned my phone off. I didn't turn on my computer. I took a day off, and it was a family day, right? And I do that about once a month. But I want our families to be informed and to know what's going on. But with all of our tweeting and voxing and sharing, my parent interaction via, like negative interaction, if you will, has gone way down because they know what's going on. Everyone's had that principal or that director or that boss, like I was saying earlier, that they say, I never see them. What do they do? Oh my gosh. And there's like this kind of aggro energy about them. Parents know what we're doing because they're seeing it and they're hearing it, and their children are coming home excited about their Genius Hour project or that new podcast. Or in a lot of our classrooms, we do a tweet of the week where it's like a collaborative tweet that the kids will come up and write together. Teacher approves it, and then they tweet it out. I'll often send classes a tweet, hey, Miss Leonard's class, can you research this for me and then get back to me? So then that puts them on a mission. They have to go find something, and then they have to, tweet it back to me. Last year, I was in New York for a week, actually, at Teachers College. So I was gone. I was on the East Coast, but I felt like I was there because I saw all the tweets coming through. I mean, kids were sending me messages via Google Drive on their assignments. So I wasn't in person, but I still felt very connected.
Okay, so I want to kind of follow up on a couple of things that you had mentioned. I mean, one thing is that you talked about, I mean, and I've seen this done before, is using Evernote, especially with your SSTs and your IEPs, and how that facilitates that conversation, because as administrators, we both know that IEPs have the potential to go down a very long road if you really don't have them scheduled and have agendized very closely or very tightly. So how do you use that process, and how do your special ed teachers or your RSP teachers really use that as a tool?
Sure. Well, my resource teacher in particular, we do a lot of RTI. We have about 150 kids on our RTI caseload, and we have shared folders for everything. So she can create something, or I have a meeting, I just dump it to the folder. There's no more looking for it. There's no binder in my office with one paper copy that somebody checked out and we can't find it. So it does. It gives us a preview of what the agenda will be, so we all know, we can all make notes, we can all collaborate, and then as follow-up as well too. You know what? I'm not going to be a principal forever. At some point, I can transfer all the files to the next person digitally, and they all have it. They all have it there. Or we need to share an item or a document with my special ed director. Just share the document. I don't need to scan it. I don't need to retype it. I mean, obviously, that's the ease of using that. So it definitely, being organized and streamlining the workflow is the key. And really, it is workflow. I can't tell you how many principals, I don't have time. I said, you'll have more time. Trust me, right? It's just getting over that mental hump of, I don't have time. Well, I know principals that spend a lot of time in their office. After every recess, after every lunch, there's a line out the door of discipline, right? Well, when you're visible and you're out there, kids see you around, they're gonna do the right thing. But more importantly, if kids are engaged in class and they can't wait to get back to class to work on what they're working on, they don't have time. They don't have the time in their brain to make a decision that they're going to regret, that they're going to end up having to talk to me about. I keep a journal of all the discipline interactions that I have. In my first year, I'm at a tenth of what I was my first year as a principal. And like I said before, culture comes first. You can't do anything until you have culture. Your teachers and your community will not follow you. They will not listen to you until you've built those relationships and have culture. In every principal interview, they ask you, what's the most important skill for a principal? Communication, collaboration, relationships. You can't do any of that without being visible, because you can't build relationships if you're not visible. And you can't get to know people if you're not visible, and you can't communicate if you're not visible. That is at the core of it, and that's why I truly feel that running my school from my phone is so powerful. We use Google Drive for more than just IEPs and SST process. Like I said, with our PTA, all of our documents funnel through that. site council as well too. I flip all of my staff meetings, Kyle. So in 3 years, we have not had a nuts and bolts staff meeting. I do a Google form. All the nuts and bolts are in that form. And if you need to respond and ask me a specified question about one of those nuts and bolts, you can email me back and I'll respond to you. We get to a staff meeting, we do kudos, 3 minutes, hey, kudos to Kyle for this and Adam and blah, 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 and boom. My first year here, it was all technology integration development, and then the last 2 years, it's been all Common Core. All Common Core. That's all we do. There's no nuts and bolts, because you know what? We can take care of that offline. We can take care of it over the over email. We only have one staff meeting a month. It's only an hour, and I really want to maximize that time. And what that's done is it models for my teachers what they can do also, right? You can send surveys to students. Hey, I just emailed you your spelling test. All of our 4th and 5th graders take their spelling test through Google Forms, and Flubaroo grades it for them. The kids get an email back. Hello, workflow. You have more time now. And same thing for a principal too. So I just did a parent survey through Google Forms that I didn't email out. I sent it out via Remind, because I know that parents. That's another thing is being mobile. Whenever we communicate with families, I always think that they're going to be reading it on their device. So what's it going to look like? So a big 10-page newsletter and form, that's not going to something that they're going to really flow through when they're in their car or they're at the doctor's office waiting for their kid. So what's it going to look like? So chunking things down and keeping things short is definitely on our scope. And our survey that I sent out was, do you feel that the principal keeps you informed? Are teachers keeping you informed? Do you feel connected? Do you follow us on Twitter? Do you follow our Remind account? Is that helpful? Overwhelmingly, very, very powerful. I was talking to Michelle Corbett. If you know Michelle, she moderates Cold Chat, which is a really great chat to get involved in. And she just did a similar survey. She's a first-year principal, and we were talking over Voxer, of course, because I don't have Michelle's phone number, about how to engage our communities. And she's, I'm excited to talk about the survey results with her as well too. So. I'm looking at my phone as I'm talking to you, and Hangouts. I talked about Hangouts before, but I get to school pretty early, about 6:30, and I could have some Hangout chats up in my Gmail, right? Well, I leave my office, and through the Hangout app, I'm still connected to my desktop, right? Because if my superintendent or our director of technology sends me a message on Google Hangouts, well, it pops up on my phone, right? So I don't need to be in front of my laptop throughout the day, So there's all these little things that really, like I said, give you more time to be out and about. Something else that I've done too is a Google form for discipline. So I don't carry a pen. Like I have like one pen in my office. I don't carry a pen and paper with me. So if I do have an interaction with a student at lunch or in a classroom that has some negative discipline, I have a Google form that I bookmarked on my desk on my phone. I click on it, name Kyle Brumbaugh, date, room number, what happened. It just dumps it to the spreadsheet, right? And then once I do have some downtime in my office, I can go to that data, take it, and then enter it into our student information system, right? So I don't need to have a Post-it note, take the information down. It's all electronic, and that's like my archive of sorts, right? Which is really easy. So it's a really streamlined way. So Chrome on your phone is really important too, I feel, and not just for searching, but there's been many times where I'll have a tab open on one of my laptops, and I forget what tab it is or what the link is. So through the Chrome app, you hit on Chrome, other devices, like, oh, there it is, and both of my MacBooks show up. Click on that, I have the link. Again, I don't need to walk back to my office. Going back to what I said about not for the faint of heart, one thing at a time. Take one thing at a time, do it for a month, okay? Take another thing, right? Make it a part of your day. See how you can get out? What can you get rid of from your office that's a hard copy that you can make digital, so you can better connect with your community? Because you're going to go farther, faster, and deeper if they can see you, if you can see them, if you can build those relationships. That is the key. Team Kid is the key. And the faster you get there, the more visible you are. I tell you, it's come visit. Anybody can come visit my school anytime, and walk around and see what's going on. Tweet me, email me, Vox me. You know, we all work too much, but we do it for kids because we want to help others connect. So definitely feel free.
Yeah. Okay. I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
So a couple things I wanted to follow up on. One is you talked about the process and that breaking down or changing the culture, and maybe you can start to talk about how that worked in your situation when you first started. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I think maybe if you could elaborate on is flipping the faculty meeting, because I mean I go back to my time as a teacher and watching those administrators come in with a stack of articles that they want everybody to read during the faculty meeting, and then they just kind of drop them there, and you spend half the faculty meeting reading this article, and then you have a conversation about it. And what's that process? And another question would be?
Bilingual things that really don't interact in English,
okay,
or the social media stuff, or the polls, or all that sort of stuff. How does he make sure that those families still just included into that constant communication when they can't interact with an English Twitter or something?
Okay, so how do you support second language speakers in your community with Twitter and other content that you're publishing through your Twitter feeds, through your newsletters, through Google Sites or Google Forums, etc.?
Sure. So I'll answer that first question first. So on our website, we have a Google Translate button. So you click that, and the whole thing gets translated, even the tweets that are embedded on our homepage. So that's a great reason to embed all your tweets. And if you're a teacher, you do that on your teacher webpage as well too. So, and then within Google Docs, it's so easy just to hit translate, and everything gets translated on their own. So I have a much smaller population, EL population, but you know, I've worked with some principals that are in Title I schools, so definitely some lower socioeconomic than ours, and they say, why should I use Remind? Well, you know, not to stereotype at all, but in some lower socioeconomic areas, some families might have 2 jobs. Parents aren't at home at night. They don't have a smartphone potentially. You don't need one. You can have a flip phone and get the messages and stay connected. Remind actually is very close to launching Translate on their app, so that hopefully will be coming very soon. I do work with Remind. I blog for Remind, and they're working on that. So hopefully that's coming out soon.
Well, and then the other statistic that I like to point out to people, not to interrupt you, is that the largest growing population of smartphone users and purchasers are typically in the Hispanic community, because that may be their one connection to the internet.
Sure, and that's why my comment about what is their user experience, thinking about that. You may not have a computer at home. Your computer may be broken, but you can still access everything, you know, via your mobile device, and it will look appropriate, and you can stay connected. So the faculty meeting question. Yep. So I definitely like to do articles ahead of time, but I also often do videos, and I do videos also for all of our site council meetings. And it's not always, I'm a very big non-educational related professional development, right? How can we think about this outside of the box of education, but for kids? So if there's a really great Edutopia video about a school in Singapore, a 21st century school, and just what it looks like. And the principal says, I want our kids to be happy and want to come to school. Kyle, it's not about the Chromebook. It's not about the MacBook Air. It's not about the technology. It's about kids just feeling good about themselves and excited to come to your building to learn and to collaborate. All those other things will come. And so to go with the culture, I took over at this school, and they just come off of getting the California Distinguished School Award, right? So I was very cognizant of, you know, I can't just let my briefcase hit the ground, just cruise and ride their coattails. My inspiration comes from Roger Craig, who's a former manager of the San Francisco Giants. And if you remember his motto, it was "Hum Baby," right? And he rallied people around him because it was a cause, and he wanted to win baseball games. So when I got here, it was the Olympics going on, and Nike had these great commercials. It was the "Find Your Greatness," right? And so I showed a bunch of those videos to my staff, and our first motto was "Finding Greatness on Team Kid," and then last year it was "Make It Happen on Team Kid." Kids come up to me, "Mr. Welcome, make it happen." I'm like, let's make it happen. And this year it's raise the bar on Team Kid, and it's that relentless. People, I believe, that's why there's gangs, and that's why there's fraternities and clubs and book clubs. People want to be involved and connected to something, and when your cause and your connection is kids, having another level of that connection, with a slogan, we put it on T-shirts, we put it on banners, we put it on bumper stickers. Go to vistaprint.com. You can get a banner for $25 and put it up in your office, and kids walk by and they'll put their hand on it, kind of like the movie Rudy in Notre Dame when they all put their hand on that as they're going down the stairs. And it's just, we don't share enough of what's going on. Amazon shares how much money they made this quarter, and so does Microsoft. How come we don't share, all the awesomeness that's going on in our schools? A side note, Corwin Press is a really great publisher, and they have a Connected Ed series that is pretty recently published, and there's about 8 or 9 books in that series, and they're really short books. They're only about $10 or $15, and it really talks about connecting your school and just connecting your community and thinking differently. And just because we've always done it this way doesn't mean we need to continue or even continue doing it this way. It's shake things up. And I saw a tweet from Justin Tart, who's a director in the Midwest. If it's all puppies and rainbows and ice cream cones, something's wrong. you gotta make people feel a little uncomfortable and have them make mistakes to really push the envelope. My staff has done a lot of Google Hangouts with other staffs. I talked to a principal just last Friday in New Jersey who contacted me on Twitter about getting her whole staff on Twitter. And I said, hey, the best thing to do is let's just do a Google Hangout. I'll get a bunch of my teachers together, get your whole staff, and I'll say hey, and my teachers will just talk to yours about how they use it and what it's like and how it's changed their school. I mean, that confession, that testimony right there is all you need. The more people we get connected, the better we are. Benjamin Gilpin is a principal in the Midwest too, and he just wrote a blog post, Better Together, about his experience at a conference and how he went up to a speaker and said, hey, are you on Twitter? And the guy just kind of looked at him nasty and turned around. And his post was, Better Together. And, I've kind of morphed that into Better Together if we're connected. Because like I said, I met you about 5-6 years ago, Kyle, and all the change that's happened since then, oh my, and how much better connected are we now? Like you said, having my teachers connected to other teachers and me being connected to other principals has given me ideas. I wouldn't know who Michelle Corbett was or anybody else if it wasn't on Twitter, Better together.
Yeah, and I know just personally, I will provide my Twitter handle anytime I do a presentation. I did a presentation here this morning, and I provided all of my contact information and always provide the link to the slides. Sure. Because I'd rather at least provide that resource, because we've all kind of been in those professional development sessions where you see a great idea and it's got 15 steps and you're ready to go. You're going to start on Monday morning. You're going to implement whatever it was, and you get through to step 7 and you forget that step, and now it all kind of goes out the window.
Sure.
And having that ability to stay connected and be able to ask those questions like, hey, I was in your session and I tried to implement this, and this is the snag that I hit. Can you help me past that sticking point to kind of keep people going?
Sure. People are so willing to help, and they're so willing to share. You know what? You don't need to buy 10 books and think that you need to read them all. You really don't. There's free stuff, and there's people who will help you for free. One more thing. When I got to my school, when I got to my district, there was not one MacBook Air in the district. There was no Mac products, and nobody was on Twitter. You know, in 2 years, it's really easy to make change. You show people that you care. You show them that it works. You do it, leading from the front. We can do this together. I'm going to be right next to you. I'm going to be in front of you. I'm going to be behind you. Whatever you need, you can make that change. If you're on Team Kid and you can show people that you care, you can make it happen. It does not take years and years and years. I've heard people say, oh, your first year as principal, don't do anything. Do something. Do something. Don't do this much. I mean, you know, make little steps. Build that culture first, and then you'll be so surprised at what you can do. You need to build culture first. Culture before anything else. Show people that you care about kids, and they will follow you. I have not mandated any of this to any of my staff. I've not said, by next Friday, everybody better have a Twitter account. Not once. It's all voluntary, all organic, because they see that it works and that the change is powerful. And I think when it happens like that, people will go deeper and faster and better when they see for themselves that it works for kids. So I know we're getting close to 2 o'clock. Are there any other questions or?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. People are just saying thank you, Adam, and I know to be able to have that conversation, I mean, is really valuable, because I know a lot of people want to be able to do something in their own school, but they kind of don't know where to start or what the benefits are, and really I think you laid out a nice game plan with starting small, finding something doable, do that for a month, really ingrain that into your professional practice, and then build from there. I think that's really a good message. And the consistency piece and the visibility piece, I think, are really key. I mean, to be able to get out into classrooms. I've even actually done. You mentioned the not in office thing, and really my role right now is more of a director of tech and as someone who provides professional development. And I have every Monday for me is out of office,
cool.
So they know that I will be in classrooms every Monday because that's my one day, and then our other professional development person, Wednesday's his day out of office, and because we want to put a spotlight on people that are doing things well, and find a way to share those out with the rest of our community.
I'll tweet you those 2 articles, and I'll hashtag ETIS14, Kyle, so people can find them.
Perfect.
One more thing. When I first started with Twitter, I couldn't tag any of my teachers because they weren't on Twitter. So what I would do is I would tweet something in their classroom. And then later that day, I would email them the tweet. Hey, I'm making you famous, right? And they're like, what? What are you doing? And then I would do it more. And they're like, what is this? That was just a way to kind of build, you know, I say that, I'm going to make you famous. And I tell kids that too, right? Because, like, you know, who doesn't want to be famous? And that was just an easy way to, like, show them what was going on in a really safe, positive way. And I've had veteran teachers go, I never thought I would be doing this, but it's positive. The kids and the parents like it. And, you know, like, that's your spokesperson right there. You know, I mean, it does. It really works. Obviously, my Twitter handle is below, @awelcome. My Voxer username is the same, awelcome. So you can send me a Vox at any point in time. You know, you can just send me a tweet, and I'll get back to you. I've had those phone calls, you know, like from a principal in Colorado. Hey, Adam, they'll tweet me their phone number. Can I talk to you? Yeah, I just feel so alone, and how do I get there? I mean, I'm sure you have so many similar stories, Kyle, and you're like talking them through, kind of like talking them off the ledge. No. Okay, here's what you're gonna do. Okay, get your phone, go into a class, you know, take it, you know, do this, do that, and then, like, 2 months later, you see, like, where they've come, and just believing in your colleagues and believing in somebody else is that is the change, and that is the power, and that is, hey, that's why I became a teacher, you know, 12 years ago. And Team Kid, I can't say it enough. Team Kid. I tweeted Arnie Duncan. That should be the Secretary of Education's motto, Team Kid. It's simple, right? it gets to the point.
Okay, well, I know we're out. So, Adam, thank you so much for joining us, and it's been a great session. I'm going to kind of turn this off, but as the broadcast comes up, I'll make sure that I get a link back out to you with the Hangout on air, and then we'll go from there.
Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Kyle.